I can't believe this is happening. After many years of the MMO genre staying in the dust, with anyone who even attempted to make an MMO immediately burning upon arrival, it seems like now, like a phoenix, the genre is rising from the ashes, with new opportunities rising all around us. And after the latest Riot MMO news, which kinda blew up the hype again, some people said things which they shouldn't have. Tweets were deleted, people got even more hyped, and now I wouldn't be surprised if Riot was shaking, because matching these expectations is gonna be crazy. And I'm probably not helping. So, there is a good chance you've heard about the news about the Riot MMO that came out only a few days ago. Long story short, Riot hired a legendary dev that is responsible for some really good gameplay design on video games that could be considered, let's say, one of the biggest in the entire MMO genre. Of course, here we are talking about Holinka, who is very well known in the MMO community, who then tweeted that he's joining the Riot MMO team, after which everyone freaked out. Because while all the other MMOs are burning and layoffs are happening all the time, Riot just keeps hiring more high-profile people, which indicates their confidence. Not to mention that at this point, the Riot MMO has entire teams that previously worked together on World of Warcraft. But where things really got out of hand is where Holinka looked at his own tweet. He noticed the tweet was getting a lot of traction, which might be something he potentially didn't expect. And he replied further to his own tweet. And that was likely the mistake. Because it seems like he hasn't been PR trained yet, and he likely said things that he probably shouldn't have. And unfortunately for the entire Riot MMO team, it only further fueled the hype. Yes, I know, the Riot MMO is quite literally suffering from success. Now, the issue for us is that this tweet that spoiled some information about the Riot MMO got deleted. And it was deleted so fast, it can't be found in any of the archives, and you can't even find it on the Wayback Machine. The issue for Riot is that the Riot MMO fans are fanatics, me likely included. And so of course, people got screenshots of what was said. And because all of this is public information, as far as the internet is concerned, it should be all fair play. Now, is this tweet gonna ruin all of Riot MMO's plans? No. But we can get some interesting nuggets of information out of it. Wow, people are really excited about this game. Eye emoji. So he did get PR trained. I promise to do my best to help the team. They are incredibly talented and passionate about bringing Runeterra to life. I watched a playtest last night, and it looked like a blast. So, it may not look like much, but we actually got two interesting pieces of information here. First of all, at the beginning, everyone was focused on the playtest. Now, while a playtest could mean anything, because you have to playtest your own game from the blocking stage all the way to the final polish, by now, the Riot MMO should be in the stage where the core gameplay is in a locked direction, and now it is all about the muscle building on top of it. What is really interesting though is that he watched a playtest, meaning that other people were playing it, with people potentially being the plural, which could lead into the assumption that Riot is testing the dungeons and the raids, which should be the core of an MMO. Especially because Holinka specifically is all about the class design and the combat design. Now, to tie this all back to what was said before, we know that the Riot MMO is still aiming for the potential release of 2030 at the latest. But knowing how dev cycles work, once you get into a proper testing phase, the release should be a lot closer. So taking industry standards into account, it is likely the MMO might actually come out around 2028. Which means that now we would have a theoretical release window. What's even crazier is that Tauli, a known WoW creator, also dug into the classic MMO dev cycles. He mentioned that with the current dev cycle, the MMO could be expected within the next 2 or 3 years, which would line up with the release window. And he added that he would expect an announcement within the next 16 months. Of course, all of this is pure speculation. But then the executive producer of the Riot MMO replied with the trademarked eyes, which could mean nothing or everything. It could also specifically be a reply to Tao Li saying that the game will be a banger, and so we actually don't know. But now, the new potential release of 2028 was born. And again, all of that came out of a person that said one sentence too much. And what solidified it was Riot taking the tweet down. Because the chances are that Holinka didn't know that he was saying too much. He likely didn't know how much was known about the project. He was likely told that he could tweet about his own position, and remember that he just came out of the Ghost project, which was a very transparent MMO. But that is where another piece of information comes in. Because if you really focus on what he said here, he didn't know. And this is what surprised me the most. There is absolutely no shade towards Holinka. Game development in general is pretty much a hellscape right now. I know about it. People do keep wishlisting my game. But the assumption would be that at a high level, if you are working on a big game genre, which would match an MMORPG, shouldn't you have a good idea of the competition around you and what is going on in the industry? Maybe this is how I see it because I am deep in the Riot MMO bubble. But I thought it was a well-known fact that the Riot MMO is probably the most anticipated MMO in the world. And so, to not know that people would be excited about this game, end of quote, kinda caught me off guard. Also, it is funny that technically, this is the first time we got it directly confirmed that the MMO is gonna be taking place on Runeterra. Somehow, before this, we never got an official statement. Not to mention, the MMO isn't announced yet, technically. We only ever got assumptions about Runeterra, because if you have a look at the previous job listings, there were some requirements for people to be familiar with the League of Legends IP. On top of which, tied to the original tweet, he didn't even call it the Riot MMO. Holinka called it the League of Legends MMO. Riot should be thankful he also didn't leak the name of the MMO, I guess. I mean, if they follow their latest naming patterns, be ready for 25-man raid nights. Anyway, as you can see, even after digging deep into this, at first sight, this tweet doesn't seem that big, and the reason for it being taken down kinda seems overblown. But the truth is that it gained traction and the MMO got hyped like never before. This led into every tweet with the Riot logo that mentioned the Riot MMO immediately blowing up. Of course, at first, this trend came out of all the people who were hired for the Riot MMO. But after that, even if people weren't hired, they still did it and they still got good old internet points. And so, a new trend started. People started tweeting the Riot logo, talking about the Riot MMO, and the hype kept building up. Of course, this charge was led by one, let's say, infamous MMO and or RPG troll, who also got recently invited to Riot. But from personal experience, every time I happened to be at Riot, people thought it was about the MMO, and it never was. So the chances are this isn't. After which, we even got some MMO devs having fun with the new trend. And so now, the hype for the Riot MMO was revived once again, because it became obvious that something was actually happening. And the potential release of this anticipated game was actually getting closer. We might not die before it comes out. So more than anything, it is realizations that are dropping onto people. And that is where I have to mention one more thing. You see, in the news that came before Holinka was recruited, we learned that Riot might have to deal with a new challenge on the horizon. Because there is a very slow resurgence of the MMO genre happening. And it seems like Blizzard is trying to bring back Classic WoW again. Which, funnily enough, even though Classic WoW is more than 20 years old, when it came back, it was one of the biggest releases in MMO history. Yes, it was bigger than most of the modern MMOs coming out. And now it seems like Blizzard is trying to pull off Classic Plus, which is also one of the most anticipated events in the MMO history, where Blizzard would just keep developing the old World of Warcraft, in the exact same way old school RuneScape does it. Now, where things get really interesting is that among the current work of the Riot MMO, as well as Blizzard's doing, they are already slowly bringing back the MMO hype, but now there is a new Titan rising. And looking at what was mentioned today already, Riot, you better pay attention to the industry. Because yesterday, the domain of Guild Wars 3 was updated, which made people freak out a lot. And that's because, in case you don't move in the MMO space, Guild Wars has always been considered one of the MMOs that made it, with both Guild Wars 1 and 2 standing strong to this day, even if their player base is a little bit lower. And after many years, it seems like a new Guild Wars game is brewing, and it is also heading straight for the resurgence of the MMO genre. Specifically, all of these rumors first started in an earnings call with Amazon, where Amazon confirmed that New Worlds was shutting down, after which someone asked about Guild Wars 3, and Amazon replied they are fine to discuss it, after which ArenaNet actually sent some packages to old Guild Wars creators. There was a date where they had to open the package, after which yesterday came, the Summer Game Festival happened, and lo and behold, Guild Wars 3 was confirmed, which, to an average MMO fan, is an absolute miracle. Because now, you have a bunch of MMO titans reassembling like the Avengers, and I am just happy that League of Legends is there too. Yes, we should stop calling it the Riot MMO. It is the League of Legends MMO now.